Welcome to Chanakya, where you get the right guidance at the right time. Today I have with me expert coaches JV and Vishu. Welcome to Chanakya, JV and Vishu.
Thank you.
So here's a situation which many Scrum Masters encounter. Divya, as Scrum Master for a Scrum team, is looking for improving agile maturity in her team. However, she has a challenge in dealing with the TechLead Surya. Surya, a long timer in the company, is a very critical team member. But he does not believe in agile and often opposes many of the practices. He is just non-cooperative and dysfunctional in the team. He not only skips most of the Scrum ceremonies, but also influences other team members to do the same. So Divya is looking for help from the Agile Coach, how to deal with Surya. So how can you help Divya? So what's your view, JV?
Very interesting situation. First of all, Divya should try and understand Surya as a person, right? Because ultimately Divya as a Scrum Master is a coach for the team. So she should know know who her coaches are from a personal perspective, how they are as a person, right? And in that process, I would believe that Divya needs to talk to the team members, some of the team members as well. How do they perceive Surya and his role in the team? Are they getting really influenced by him, or are they acting on their own? Do they have a view on their own? I think all of this is important. And on top of that, even though Surya's specific objectives and things like that are paramount importance, I mean, from Divya's perspective, it's also important that you need to look at the team's pulse, right? What's the pulse of the team? Right? It's important for Divya to understand that.
That's interesting perspective. So first thing Divya has to realize, she has to sort of sometimes wear a coach hat, right, in this process. And secondly, she has to actually just look at the overall situation of the team, not just one person here, right?
I think that's important because sometimes team itself could be influencing Surya.
Yeah. Okay.
To behave that way.
That could be a Google.
That'll be a revelation.
I know.
So what are your views, Vishu?
Yeah, I agree with JV. I think also I have seen many times this is. I have come across these kind of situations in quite a few organizations. Many times there are several reasons potentially behind why Surya is behaving like that. I think Divya should really look at what could be potential reasons. For example, it could be due to lack of understanding of agile principles and rationale behind agile. So that's why he says it doesn't work. Or it could be resistance to change. I have been doing this way for so many years. Now I need to change. Why should I change? Or it could be lack of alignment of goals and expectations between him and the managers, and it could be going in a previous way itself, like an individual contributor. Or it could be even a fear or an insecurity of losing prominence.
Losing the hero status in the team. Yeah, it looks quite complex actually. So JV, what can Divya do after getting a sense of reason for his behavior?
Yeah, Vishu alluded to some of the reasons. So, for example, if the issue is Surya does not understand the rationale for doing agile, he says agile doesn't work, will not work in this context, etc., etc. It may be worthwhile to make Surya go through a program that focuses on the whys of agile. Why do we do agile in a certain way, right? So he understands the principles behind agile and how they actually work and why they actually work, and see how he can be coached. In fact, it's not just training alone. It needs to be followed up with coaching Surya in terms of how to apply some of those principles into a work context. So that's one thing that you need to do, if that's the reason. On the other hand, if the reason is resistance to change, behavior driven, I don't want to change from the old way of working, then you have to understand, give him some reason. For example, motivate him by looking at, he'll ask you, what's in it for me, right? So you need to address that aspect of what's in it for me. Right?
So I mean, just leading from that, what that sounds like is, there is a need for a conversation with Surya, right?
Absolutely.
And could involve giving some feedback as well. So, I mean, can Divya just give direct feedback to Surya about his behavior and how it's impacting the team's output?
No, I would say no.
Okay.
Normally it doesn't work that way because it could create more resistance in him, and he can become defensive. He can deny, no, I'm not like that, or your observations are not right. It can only become more negative. I think unless other options are explored, I think we should not get into direct feedback as a immediate step.
So it's going to be very easy to just tell him you're behaving like a hero, affecting the team, but you can't. So what other options can Divya explore?
So she can look at based on again what could be the reasons for his behavior. For example, if it's because of he feeling insecure that he may be losing prominence, then it's he needs to be made aware that actually his growth in not just being an individual contributor but getting output from the team as a whole team working together, as well as growing more people like him. That is where actually his growth is, and that's where his more higher recognition is. I think that would help him to change. In a sense, it's what is in it for me.
So it's the hero status doesn't just come from performing; it will also come from help the team out and let the whole team grow, hold the team perform, and he would still be a hero. Right.
So instead of an individual contributor, he becoming more a rainmaker. That would be more powerful.
I like that. But in the first place, how to bring awareness to him about his behavior? Right? If he doesn't even know, how does he change himself?
I think that's a very subtle thing. As I said, I mean, direct feedback doesn't work. So we have to make him realize through creating certain kind of a reflection mechanism. I have used technique like 5 dysfunctions of a team or Johari windows with the full team, including say Surya. So in that process, what happens is it gets kind of a feedback like a 360. So Surya can realize, oh, I didn't realize that this is the perception on me. So that could be more powerful than somebody one-on-one giving direct input. So it's like holding a mirror. Just by looking at this, he realizes that, oh, I need to change.
Absolutely.
That's very interesting. So if you've got a black spot on my face, instead of telling me you just hold a mirror, right? I can make it out for myself.
An indirect way. And in an indirect way. That's an important thing.
And usage of techniques like this 5 dysfunctions with team or Johari windows. That sounds interesting, but I guess that'll need a more in-depth conversation about how to use
deep
them.
Conversation.
Maybe that's for another day for us. So is there anything else, JV, that Divya should be aware of?
I think Vishu alluded to one thing about the objectives not being aligned. For example, in an agile context, the objectives need to be a lot more team driven than individual driven. Surya is a senior technical person of the team. So very often I've seen in organizations a technical lead's role or an architect's role. The objectives are largely individual driven and recognized based on individual contribution. Whereas I think in the case of Surya, you need to ensure that the objectives are set in such a way that his contribution to the team, to bringing up the team, getting them up to speed and guiding them, technically helping them, all of those need to be part of Surya's goals so that his behavior will get aligned to that expectation. Now, having said this, we have talked about multiple approaches to dealing with it. At the end of all of this, if this doesn't change Surya and all of these don't work, then Divya has to take recourse to an outside help. Sometimes an outside agile coach can actually help. I've done this in some situations where there have been extremely difficult team members, and we have done our best to coach the Scrum Master to do it, and it doesn't work. And so the agile coach directly has a conversation with him. Sometimes the person is a little bit more receptive to an external input. So that's a possibility. It can be explored.
And I guess when you say outside, it doesn't have to be someone, an external consultant.
Could be somebody from outside the team, within the organization, but somebody that Surya is unlikely to resist, respect or whatever. He needs to respect that individual. That's an important thing.
Okay, good. So great insights, JV and Vishu. Let me summarize the key points from you for Divya on tackling a situation like this. So primarily understand and assess the team's context first. Then assess the possible reasons for the tech lead's behavior. I mean, is it an agile understanding issue or a team behavioral issue or individual behavioral issue, I guess. Depending on the context, use different approaches. For example, bringing awareness on rationale behind agile practices. Look at motivational aspects. use techniques like 5 dysfunctions of a team or Johari windows to bring self-awareness on his behavior, or goal alignment with the tech leads manager. So that would bring the right behavior, right? Yeah. And hope this helps Divya in becoming more effective as a Scrum Master and driving agile maturity in her teams. So does that, anything else, Vishu and JV? Sounds right?
It's a good summary, great summary.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vishu and JV, for your valuable insights. I'm sure Scrum Masters like Divya will find these experiential insights very useful. Thanks for joining us.